If you want to hedge only interest, what do you mean by only SOFR risk? What do you mean by only SOFR risk? Well, SOFR is a floating rate. Tomorrow the rate could be different. So you want to hedge the variability of cash flows due to changing interest rates. Now, if you want to only hedge that, like what are the various instruments available, right? These are the various instruments available. Interest rate swap, right? What is interest rate swap? IRS. So hedging interest rate only, this one, IRS, interest rate swap. Basically, what you are doing is you are converting all the future SOFR rates into one fixed rate, right? And for each tenor, the market quotes that rate, right? The transaction is called interest rate swap. So IRS, right, converting from floating to fixed. So basically, the fixed rate is quoted by the market, right? This is what is called IRS swap or IRS rate, IRS swap rate. Right? So for each tenor, the market quotes this. This is one option. Here you're converting only the interest rate risk into fixed rate. Into dollar, it is still dollar. Basically, I'm taking an example of dollar, right? So it's still dollar rate. It's not into rupee at all, right? Then in the recent times, cost has decreased. It's not, it has been like sort of okay. It is, completely not decreased. In fact, if you had asked me a few months ago, I'd have said yes, significant cost decrease in the sense that the current SOFR, let's say, is 4%. 5%, let's say 4.5%. The 5-year rate is, let's say, 4%, for example. Then you can say that the cost has reduced, right? Because right now the SOFR is something, and you can hedge that SOFR as into a lower rate in the future. Then you can say the cost actually has come down, right? So right now the cost is fairly stable. In the sense that you will not get significant advantage from the current rate if you want to lock in, implying that the current market actually is, the current market is talking about no rate cuts in US market, right? So this is an example of a situation where the current rates are fairly expected to be stable in the future. And so there is no relative advantage right now of converting into a fixed rate fully, right? SOFR, I'm taking an example of SOFR. SOFR is basically in dollars, right? Only for dollars. One of the questions asked. So now, if I'm talking about, let's say, euro, I would have talked about Euribor or Ester. If I talk about JPY, I would have spoken about TONA as a benchmark. So each currency, obviously, the benchmarks are different, right? So here I'm talking about SOFR.